a resident.
Sounds good.
Why the city they're a subcontractor.
Yeah. Yeah, good. I'm glad you answered that. Oh,
Scary.
we got 3 minutes.
What?
Already. We're up to 27 already. Hard to believe it.
Yeah.
You're gonna be old before you know it. Jeez.
You keep telling me that.
Ain't she? Kid's gonna catch her. If you don't look
What's
at one
that?
of these days, she's gonna be old.
It does sneak up on me.
Yeah.
When you're out here seeing these people that, hey, went to school with your kids that are. Oh,
I did just turn 40.
I know, I think, I know.
Me?
She went to school with my
You're
next,
that much younger than my son
she went to school with my
was? You're
next,
making me feel real old now.
she went to school with my next to youngest kid. My next to youngest.
My
Not
son
my
would've been
third from oldest.
48 last month, or in March.
Yeah, I graduated in
Well,
04.
I was going 48 in June, I think it is. June, yeah.
I think we should prank Daryl one time. Like this time, everyone just turn lights off and get up and go. Because church didn't have nobody here.
That would be really funny. He is going to be late though,
Oh.
because normally he just rolls in right at
Oh,
time.
man,
Yeah.
right at the second.
Sometimes it feels like the longest 3 minutes.
I think you can yell in whenever you want as long as it's closed.
Yeah, it's close. All right, it's officially 6 o'clock, so we'll call this work session to order. We don't usually stand for the pledge for a work session, but if you guys really want to, we can.
Go ahead, Cody, lead it.
Roll call.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do it
Yeah.
in roll call.
Boy, he popped right up there and ready to go.
I like your
Enthusiasm.
enthusiasm. All right, so we'll go ahead and start the discussion on the 2027 budgets for the city of Rawlins, and I will pass it to you first, City Manager Hall.
Me.
Just gave a few remarks last time. I'll just turn it right over to Laura this time. She's doing all the cooking anyways.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, this is night 2 of our fiscal year 2027 budget work session. So tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the non-department managers fund as well as our special funds. We also have on deck our police department, our public works general funds, and our rec services. I did want to make one small clarification real quick from last week, just so that to make sure that we're clear. Vice Mayor Gardner had asked a question regarding COLAs, and then there was some confusion on staff afterwards about whether he was referring to step increases or COLAs, maybe both, we're not sure. But we did want to make sure that we were on the same page, that council understands we do have a step system, and that has been implemented into the salaries of the general funds. No COLA has been added for the fiscal year 2027.
Thank you.
So here is our agenda for the night, and we're going to start with our manager's office and finishing those up with our non-departmental. The non-departmental budget is a part of the budget where expenditures that cannot be identified to a specific general fund department, but are overall city-wide expenses. A prime example of this is what we pay our auditor fees every year for. It applies citywide, but we don't sit there and figure out how much of it is for what department. It all goes into this non-departmental. We do have the budget for the non-department. There are no salaries and benefits in this. We do have our consulting fees. Those are, in fact, the price of the audit every year. We do a little bit of beautification funding, and of course our utilities for City Hall are all under this non-department budget. In this particular non-department budget, we have removed postage. All of the city's postage used to run through this non-department up until the end of this fiscal year. I have since made sure that those things get switched over to department-specific spending, and they'll enter their code, and then we'll be able to classify it to their proper departments. A few other things that land in here is our taxes that we have to pay the county for our land, and of course our citywide insurance expenses. We do have a small budget for supplies. Those are the central office supplies. Those are generally ordered by the finance department, and then the entire city uses them. We also have in here a little bit for a volunteer committee, as well as the 4th of July fireworks display that gets put on by the city. Are there any questions relating to our non-department budgets? Okay. The special oh, I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Lindsay.
I'm sorry.
I think beautification spelled wrong. And what did I see that was decreased that I had a question about? Insurance, how did that go down?
Well, I'm not sure how it went down from 25 to 26 exactly. I can tell you that the 2027 proposed budget is based on what the insurance companies actually did quote us for our premiums. We received those back last month, in fact, and she went over them in great detail with me. And so we are satisfied with what they provided us this year.
But you don't know what the surprise
I can't
insurance
explain the
was?
difference from 25 to 26. It could
Okay.
be that there was some claims there, perhaps, that had to be paid.
That would be
might
my
it.
biggest guess.
That would be it, thank you.
Bruce, go ahead.
What was that when we changed from being totally self-insured to going under the other insurance?
No, this particular insurance is our property liability insurance,
Oh,
not
okay.
our health insurance.
Okay.
That comes up later.
Okay, special funds are just very unique funds to government. They include our health insurance fund, our dangerous building fund, our specific purpose tax, and our impact assistance funds. So first with the internal health insurance fund. So the internal health insurance fund is a fund that is operated much like our enterprise funds are. They are used to provide services to other government departments within our own city government. This fund exists because of the the self-health insurance type that the city once had. It collects all of the premiums paid by employees, and then it pays out all of the health, dental, vision, life, and HSA options that are chosen by employees. For 2027, this is what that budget looks like. We anticipate that we will collect a little over $1.8 million in premiums, and then we will pay out that same $1.8 million for premiums of insurance. This money is invested over time and therefore does collect a significant amount of investment income. Are there any questions on our health insurance fund?
Go ahead, Councilmember.
You said it's invested?
Yes, it is.
What's this invested in?
WildClass currently holds that.
Okay.
Anything else on our health insurance funds? Okay. Next is our Dangerous Building Fund. The Dangerous Building Fund was established to receive funds from the sale of municipal dangerous properties and make payments for the abatement of other dangerous conditions. Most of the funds within this particular fund were depleted with the purchase of the Lawrence property, and the sale of the Lawrence property, if in fact it happens, would go back to this fund. At this time, unless that property were to sell or other municipal properties within this fund were to sell, I don't expect any income or expenses from this account.
Go ahead.
So, that property goes back in here. Do all properties go back in here?
Not all, only those that we purchased from the dangerous fund.
Okay. So when someone gives us property, where does that money go?
That would be part of our normal general fund expenditures.
Go ahead.
So that includes what we just did the other night in the meeting where we allowed them to tear down the
Okay.
building and all that's all in there, so.
Yes,
That's all included
absolutely.
in there.
If Right now, we don't own that property.
Yeah,
If in the
but-
event we did come into ownership of that property, it would also go back into this
But the
fund.
money from selling the stuff Lawrence has went to pay for that other one, so.
That's correct.
So the property that he's talking about that we agreed to destroy, I thought the money to destroy it was coming out of the dangerous.
It is, but in 2026, not 2027. It's happening yet this fiscal year.
And it exactly zeroed this out?
There's probably about 3,000 that sit there right now after
Okay.
we have, but it's not very significant, which is why I don't expect us to spend anything and I don't expect us to receive anything.
Mm.
Anything else on the dangerous building? Okay. The specific purpose tax, also known as our 6 penny sales tax, was voted in and approved in 2019. At that time, the expected payoff was 15 years or 2035. Due to sales tax receipts being higher than expected, that date is now 29 to 2020. Oh, goodness, I can't switch dates. To 2030, excuse me. I encourage those that are on council or anyone considering running for council, be thinking about some projects for the next 2 to 3 years, because that's when we're going to want to discuss this list again. The specific purpose tax is a little bit complicated. We actually end up spending the money long before we have collected it, and especially given the large amount of funds. It was about a little over $12 million that was voted on and approved out of the specific purpose tax. That was a significant amount for us to pay out without having collected all of those funds. So as such, the general fund has covered those expenses, and as we collect, we pay back the general fund. What you're looking at here, specific purpose taxes, is kind of a reconciliation for the expectations of 2027. We do have the 2019 6th penny, which is what we are currently using for the Edinburgh project and has previously been used for the Walnut Street project. We do have a little bit left from a downtown curb and development project that was done prior. Those funds are being expended at this time to fix some downtown curbs. We also had a little bit left over in the water treatment tax that was left over. That has since been expended in 2026. With that, these funds do get invested and therefore do receive some interest. And of course, they continue to pay us over the course of the year for our portion of these funds. When I took down all the calculations, what we expect to pay out for Edinburgh, what we expect to pay out for everything else, the actual fund balance is a negative $2,115,000. Excuse me, $2,215,000 at the end of 2027.
I thought the 6 penny tax, we couldn't just pick projects for it to use. Those projects are voted on when the 6 penny is
Yes.
put in, correct?
And the projects that were included are the ones I have listed here. So all of these projects were listed on the ballot.
Okay.
I also included a overall reconciliation of the project for where we are now. So the voters in 2019 approved $12,193,076. The Walnut Street costed $1,483,890. And so far for Edinburgh, we have paid $7,643,732. That does include the 3 change orders that happened as a result of that project. We also have the Higley underpass that was included in that project, and that comes up in 2027. Our city portion of that is $423,946. That means that at the very end, when everything is completely paid back to us, we technically have $2,644,508 to spend on any of those remaining projects that were voted on. Anything on our 6 penny tax? Impact funds. Impact funds are paid for us in order to deal with the impacts of certain types of infrastructure. Right now, we receive these funds from the Choke Cherry wind plans. It's wind, right? Okay, thank you. Right now, we have about $532,306 in that account. It does receive some interest because that money is invested in a CD right now. And we do collect about $400,000 a year in impact funds from them. Previously, council had appropriated funds from the impact assistance. The Edinburgh project still has $1 million that the city will cover in addition to the sixth penny. Police cameras were also promised for $250,000. There is $1 million dedicated to the transmission line work for the water fund, as well as $400,000 for the fire engine. With that, at the end of the year, the ending balance is in the negative by $1.7 million.
Councilmember?
So, Cody, which transmission lines are they talking about?
That's the water transmission line, the blow off and,
So the main line.
yes, the main line.
So what this particular negative means is if we overexpend this fund, again, it would be similar to our sixth penny. The general fund is going to loan the program the money, and as we receive impact assistance, it pays the general fund back. I did not add anything else to our impact assistance, primarily because it does require council approval when we're spending from that fund.
So the fire engine, is that the new one we were talking about?
That is the same one we were talking about on Tuesday night, yes. So the $400,000 is a down payment of the total of $1.2 million, and the rest would be due, depending on the type of financing we do, up to 4 years later.
So that won't be spent until we have a contract this year for that fire engine, correct?
That is correct, not until we have a contract.
But we have it, have the money there.
The money is designated.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on impact? Okay. All right, now I'd like to go into our department budgets, and I'd like to turn it over to our Police Chief Ward to talk about our police departments.
Thank you, Laura. Honorable Mayor, Council. Laura told me I only had 45 minutes to tell you about the police department. Or it might have been only 3 minutes, I'm not sure. This is the authorized strength of the police department. It shows what we're authorized to have currently and what we actually have. It shows the vacancies and the full positions. Next slide, please. So I've learned over many years that there are many ways to slice and dice statistics or stats related to policing. For the purpose of this slide, a CAT event is any incident entered into the dispatch system which requires documentation, tracking, response coordination. It includes 911 calls, non-emergency calls for service, officer-initiated activities such as traffic stops, and requests for fire or EMS. Over the last 3 years, the Rawlins Police Department has averaged about 925 calls, CAT events per month. They break down to about 816 on average for police responses, 89 for fire, and 56 for ambulances from the hospital. They don't add up to 925 because a number of those calls require multiple agencies to respond. So it could be police and fire, police and ambulance, fire and ambulance. But that gives you a general idea of the number of calls for service that the Rawlins Police Department is handling per month. Next slide, please. Our victim advocates represent the victims of crime. You know, being the victim of crime is not a pleasant experience. Our employees do an absolutely wonderful job assisting people who have unfortunately been the victim of a crime. The numbers that you see before you are the types of crimes that they were working with victims for, and the numbers, the total of these comes from April 30th of 25 through present. They are very busy. They do just a wonderful job. I couldn't be prouder of them, and I'm very grateful that in Rawlins we have them to assist our victims. Next slide, please. Animal control. Calls for animal-related events in Rawlins are always in our top 5 calls for service. We have a lot of animal calls. So between July 1st of 2025 and May 5th of 26, we had 563 animal-related calls. We have 2 animal control officers and 1 part-time employee who the animal control officers actually respond out on the street for these calls. You can see that they went out for 294, and the remaining calls that total up to 563 were handled by patrol officers when the animal control officers weren't working. In addition to responding to calls for service and enforcing city ordinance related to animals, they also maintain the animal shelter, which is by itself a very heavy and dirty job, which I've helped them with, so I have firsthand knowledge of what it involves. A lot of times it takes them hours in the morning just to put all the animals out so that they can spray out the cages, and it's a several-hour process. While that's occurring, they're also getting calls for service, so they have to stop what they're doing, leave, go out, handle the call, and come back. They take incredible care of the animals that they're charged with caring for. During this time period, you can see how many dogs, cats, and other animals were in the shelter that they cared for. They also do a wonderful job. Yes, ma'am.
I know Pet Partners, they just take in cats, is that correct?
They only handle feral cats.
Feral cats, okay.
Yes. So we may get feral kittens that we'll keep and we'll try to get homed, but mainly it's domestic cats that we deal with, other animals and dogs.
If something were to happen to Pet Partners, how would that affect this?
That would be horrible.
Okay.
They're a good partner for us. While I'm speaking of this, I'd like to mention the program we have with the pen. Recently, they hit 100 of the canines, the dogs that we were sheltering, they train. Each dog that they take in takes several months to train, and then they become more adoptable. The first number of dogs that were out there were actually adopted by employees of the pen who were familiar with the dogs and saw what a good deal it was. I think we filled that up now in capacity, and these dogs come back and they do just a really, really good job training them, and then they're obviously more adoptable.
That's a great program.
It's a very
Yeah,
good
it
partnership
is.
we have with them.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
I did separate out the police public safety. Formally, I guess this has been called administrative, but it looked like we had a lot of administrative departments, so I tried to differentiate them. So this includes our police officers that are out on the street. I did separate it into 2 slides because it wouldn't fit on one. So this does include our salaries. There are currently 3 frozen positions within the police department. This includes all of their benefits, including their pensions. And of course, a lot of contracted work that they deal with, a lot of travel and training that's required. They also have their own building, so all of their utilities are put into their specific department. I did also add in, of course, postage for them in an effort to separate it out from our non-department funds. Quite a bit of equipment maintenance, which I can assure you they have a lot of sophisticated equipment, as well as necessary supplies, vehicle operations, which is very important to them. This also includes 2 new vehicles for our police department, as well as the cameras that we talked about earlier that are appropriated out of our impact assistance funds. Do we have any questions on the public safety for the police department?
Councilwoman Lumen?
So knowing that this is the majority of our budget, how do we compare to other cities? Is that normal for most cities for their police department to have the majority of the budget?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Lumen, yes, it's quite common.
Thank you.
Public safety is a big part of most people's budget around the state.
Thank you.
Anything else on our public safety pieces?
Councilman Elliott.
How would we be able to get those positions unfroze? Are they froze due to budgeting restrictions?
Right now, we are kind of reanalyzing with the cooperation of Police Chief Ward just how his staffing is set up so that we can make sure it is appropriate for Rawlins.
I know the history, a little bit of that. When we were having shortfalls the last several years, the police department was down staff anyway, and so they basically said it's okay if we freeze them. And we had an agreement with them that if they got to full capacity, that we could reevaluate it when the time came if they had potential candidates to hire. So that's kind of the history of it.
Yeah.
It's mostly, it was like a self-sacrifice by the police department.
Yes.
That's why I was just gonna ask him,
Yeah.
how, are we full staff with what you are right now? You're still not?
No, we're far from it.
Yeah,
We are in very, let me back up. Law enforcement agencies are
Yeah.
rarely fully staffed, okay? I'm told by current staff that the Rawlins Police Department in the last 25-plus years was at full staffing once for about 3 weeks. But we have been drastically short during my tenure here. The fact that we have 5 open police officer positions out of 11 is, it's not a safe situation. I constantly worry for the safety of the public. I especially worry for the safety of the officers that we have out there. We have been doing everything we can to get our staffing up. This is a nationwide trend. It's not a good time to try to be fully staffed in general across the country. But in Wyoming, we have additional challenges on top of that. Last year, I was talking to a lot of sheriffs and chiefs of police around the state, and many of them were close or fully staffed. And I was then thinking, what's going on with our department? And this year, I'm talking to them again, and that they are facing the same types of staffing challenges that we are. I would like nothing more than to be fully staffed, to do the best we can to ensure the safety of our officers, our employees, and the public we serve.
So are you good with those positions being frozen, and if you get full up and to that point, coming back to the council and asking for them?
I'm never good with frozen positions, but if there's 2 officer positions that are currently frozen while we staff up to that, which is our intent, and then there's a reevaluation where the city manager, the finance director, and I come before you to ask to open those positions, that would be okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
We've had that conversation with the chief in his department.
I'm sure you have. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
I also have included here our dispatch and 911 services. Of course, their salaries and benefits. They do have some information technology, quite a bit of it actually, in order to continue taking those 911 calls. They do have also some significant training requirements, especially as they get hired on and trained up. I'm told that's a sophisticated process. Our 911 system in general does cost to operate. And the equipment, that $92,570 that you see on that line item is for the money for that upgrade that we approved by council a few weeks ago. That's the yearly payment that will be due to Motorola. Any other questions on our dispatch budget? Then on our victims advocate budget, we do have our staff and salaries again. They require a little bit of travel and training, but aside from that, they're mostly just a supplies department. So do we have any questions on our victims advocates? And then our animal control, We have salaries and benefits in there. We did have to bring up our consulting a little bit. Those are the vet bills for the animals, because we don't have a vet on staff. Of course, that is outsourced. Also, the supplies budget went up a bit. That is to account for the increase in the price of dog food.
Councilwoman Lehman?
So a question back on police victims advocate. Last year, they didn't have any training or any,
Last year they had $5,000 in the budget. This year they're at $7,000. In 2025, it looks like there was a zero actual, but in 2025, this appears to be a new department that was maybe broken off from a section of the police department.
but they did have training, that's what was budgeted and used.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else for our police department then? Okay. Staff did have one suggestion on fees related to the police department, and it related to our animal control units. We currently charge for the impound and pickup of animals when we have to take one of their animals in. Right now that fee is $15, which doesn't even cover 1 hour of staff time. So we would ask that council take that up to $25 to cover at least 1 hour of staff time, because it is a significant cost to the city.
Councilwoman Riley?
So I have a question on your suggestions, because I know the last meeting we had quite a few suggestions, and a few of them had questions that you were going to seek answer for. Will all the suggestions be brought back up to us to look at to officially approve you to go ahead with these suggestions, or
Yes.
change them or whatever?
Yeah.
They'll come back to us, right?
Yes, they do have to come back to you for one read. They don't have to come back for 3 like the full budget does. So I'll separate out the suggestions.
But will they be all listed outside of they won't be like just
Yeah,
in
they'll
the
be listed
budget?
outside the budget.
Thank you.
I simply brought these up within the budget, as part of our own internal review. When we agreed we would review all of those with budget sessions.
But all those will be listed for us to look at and decide. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, now our rec department, and I would like to thank you, Chief Ward.
Thank you, Chief.
And
Thank you,
invite up
Lieutenants.
our rec department director, Randy Fleming.
Thank you, Council. Yes.
Hi, Randy.
Hi there, hi there. I'm Randy Fleming. I'm an interim director of recreation. Good evening, Honorable Council, Madam Mayor. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about my experience working this past year as an interim director, overseeing the operations of the rec center, the shooting range, and the golf course. To be honest, stepping into this role has been a bit of a learning curve. And by learning curve, I mean there was definitely a few moments where, and there still is, where I was learning as I went and hoping everything worked out by the end of the day. It's also been a really rewarding experience. I've learned a lot about leadership, problem solving, and how many things can happen at the rec center all at once. One of the best parts of the past year has been our staff. Right now, we've got a pretty solid staff team, and I really enjoy that. They work together and support each other. Most importantly, they show up ready to handle whatever the day throws at us, which in this department can be just about anything. The Recreation Center, as we head into summer, things are about to get busy at the rec center in a good way. We're planning our music in the park events that we do every year, which are always a favorite. We also have summer activities for kids, including soccer, adult softball leagues as well. So if you don't see us in the office or don't catch us there, there's a good chance we're outside somewhere chasing a soccer ball or trying to keep up with the game schedule. The golf course. We have opened early this year and are hoping to stay ahead of the drought conditions to keep the course in good shape. And you're all pretty much aware of that, I'm sure. We have a full slate of tournaments this year. So far, I see 13 listed golf tournaments. There might be more. And it's also the have some kids' golf camps as well. Plus, a lot of you know now we have a new concessionaire for the restaurant, the Coal Bar restaurant with Tim Carlson. That'll be a great plus. That'll be a great thing. And the shooting range, our outdoor range is open now, and we currently have 8 events scheduled and counting this summer, or for the summer. And then I know for sure we have at least 3 events lined up for the winter months so far. To keep things running smoothly, we are bringing on some seasonal staff, as we do every year, because as much as we think we can do it all, we've learned it's better to have backup, especially during the summer. Overall, I'm really looking forward to a year ahead. It'll be busy, maybe a little chaotic at times. That's when all the recreation activities are at their best, full of energy, activity, and people enjoying what they have to offer. If we make it through the summer with everything running smoothly, we'll call that a big win. Thank you.
Okay, so with our recreation center budget, we have gone through all of their needs. This is specific to the recreation center, and it's on 2 slides. They of course have their staff and benefits, a number of rec program expenses that go on just to run their programs, as well as they also pay their own utilities because of course they are their own building. Aside from that, everything has stayed relatively flat, with the exception of the equipment line item. The equipment line item, one of the goals for 2026 is to get done the re-waxing of the gym floor. This equipment would allow us to purchase a floor scrubber in order to keep that wax and the floors in good shape throughout so that we don't have to re-wax on a yearly basis.
Councilwoman Lewin?
So for the baseball fields, would that be?
The baseball fields that are across from the rec center are included here. The VFW fields are under parks, under the Parks Department.
The one on Daly is under Parks?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Sanger?
That was it.
Same question, okay.
Wonderful.
With that, the rec center did also propose a new fee structure for them. So I'm sure you can see here there are actually a number of changes. I do want you to know we work very closely together. These are reflective of our actual costs and do make for a more streamlined pricing structure. With the one big change we made is defining the word family. Before we have family prices, but no definition to follow, which made it very complicated for both staff and patrons. So these are things we're happy to discuss going forward. These are our current recommendations for the rec.
What was your definition of family?
Yeah,
then?
I'm curious.
So now we have made it a combination of up to 2 adults and any children within that same household under 18. So before there was no definition to follow, so.
So
that
up
made
to
it
2 adults and then kids under 18.
Right,
All in the same household.
yes.
Mm.
One thing that has not come to council in the past was our program fees for a rec center. And keeping in line with what your ordinance states, I felt that's something that should be included going forward in our fee structures. So these are what is currently charged in order for the programs that happen for our kids. These are our baseball camps and our football camps and things like that. So we did put all of that into one sheet for you guys to be able to examine. We also took a close look at the rentals for the rec center. The current system was confusing. Even patrons were very confused as to what they should be paying, which also made it difficult for staff. This shows a little bit more streamlined approach. Keeps everything except we did remove the full facility all-day rental, which we simply don't do. We did replace that with a special event kind of fee to cover if the school wants to partner with us to do a special dance, those kinds of things that happen outside normal business hours, so that they can have their little events and use our rec center for a very small fee.
So the times that, like they do the health fair and stuff, That we don't charge them to rent the whole thing?
We don't.
Okay.
Any other questions on our rec center? Okay. Next, we do have our golf course. Our golf course has, of course, their salaries and benefits. Quite a bit of extra supplies, of course, going to running a golf course, fertilizers, chemicals, things like that, and they pay their own utility expenses. With that, are there any questions for our golf course budget?
Have you seen an increase in, Randy, have you seen an increase since they closed the golf course at St. Clair in memberships?
Just from my experience last year when they closed that, I think the numbers were a lot better last year. I'm almost positive. If you ask Kevin, his numbers at the front desk, I think they were a lot better. Absolutely. A lot busier.
Madam Mayor, if I may, Bev recently shared with us what April's memberships were for the golf course, and there was a significant uptick all of a sudden in April. Now, whether that was a direct result of St. Clair's closing or the fact that it was the beginning of the season, I'm not sure, but it is something we'll be tracking.
Wonderful.
Just curious, under the taking capital, what's the $100,000?
Oh, that's an excellent question. My apologies. I should have mentioned it. So we do have a grant in order to put in new cart paths at the golf course.
Okay.
It's a 50-50 grant, so 50,000 of it will be paid back to us, and then we have to match $50,000. That's something I've been working very closely with them to get started. We actually did receive an extension because initially it was supposed to be done by the end of this season, which wasn't going to happen. So I received a 1 year's extension. We now have till the end of next season to get it done. But we expect a great ribbon cutting and everything next year for that.
So is it just redoing the paths that are already there or creating new ones?
Nope, they are the same ones. They are just repairing what is there, making
Nice.
sure they're good and solid. And
Same material?
it's a roto mill mix.
Okay.
So a better, longer sustaining material?
It'll pack harder
Yeah.
during the hotter seasons.
Handle our winds?
Easier to read.
Easier to run on?
Yeah.
Will it be easier to run
A
on?
little easier to maintain
Yes.
overall.
Good deal.
Keep
That's
the
awesome.
badgers- Keep the badgers out of there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Stinkers.
Anything else for our golf course?
Good.
I've noticed the utilities, like your electric and gas and, well, maybe not the electric, but the gas, it shows that that budget is cut in half since this year.
Yeah, and most of the budgets worked out that way. I took the gas bills based on historical amounts over several years, so not just the fact that this season was particularly warm. For whatever reason, that had not been fully used in the past, and I was trying to be a little bit more realistic about those budgets.
I thought maybe you could pass something on so we can all save some money, but
That's wishful thinking.
They just over budgeted on utilities.
Based on our coldest years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councilmember Elliott?
For liquor license, there's not a budget for that. Why is that?
You are correct, because we are, the liquor license is being transferred to the Crowbar and the owner of the Crowbar, so he will absorb those expenses.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
During the meeting with the golf course, they mentioned that golf sim. Well, do we have numbers on that to throw against this at all? No? Okay.
They were gonna look into that, and
Get some
Philip
more.
was gonna try and see what they could find, and because what he had proposed wouldn't cost us any money anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of wondering, if they had a kind of an idea what it would bring in for money to maybe have that as the show for next year's offset on the budget. So might be
put
if
it
we
together
could
and
get some.
get it in place, then yeah, that'd be something we'll start tracking.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay. I don't know if the council knows. He hasn't been to a meeting. I don't think I brought it up. Would it be okay to tell him about it now, or just wait until the next meeting? Just the
I'm
idea.
waiting to see what he can find in his
Okay.
fact finding mission out there.
Okay.
So in the next advisory board, I think there'll be be like updated and I can bring that here.
Perfect.
Councilwoman Lumen?
So in the past, I know we had a virtual system, a virtual golf. I don't know what happened to that. Did we ever?
Golf
Yeah,
simulator.
We were gonna get simulators and that.
but we never actually bought
No.
them.
No.
Okay.
Anything else on our golf course? Okay. On our shooting range, this is the budget right now for the shooting range. One thing we are trying to work towards is another part-time staff member in order to assist the 1 3/4 time person we have now. The idea being that that will keep the shooting range open 7 days a week instead of having to force the 2 days off, thereby hopefully upping membership and, of course, customer satisfaction. With that, there are some fees in order to just maintain the outdoor shooting range as well as the indoor shooting range. There is some repairs needed to various ranges on the indoor side that we're kind of working on a maintenance contract for. Are there any questions to the shooting range budget?
Vice Mayor?
Just one. I know there was talk of maybe doing an automated system for the key in and key out, just to kind of step away from having to have it manned. I don't think most ranges are manned. Is that something we're looking at with this budget, or would that be?
We are currently looking at it with the advisory board. We're
Okay.
working very closely together to see what our options are. We're kind of on a fact-finding mission right
Okay.
now on that.
Awesome.
Yes, and if the council will allow, there is a member of our shooting range board who would like to come and speak on their behalf, if you don't mind.
Come on up.
Mayor, take your microphone.
You know,
There you go.
State your name for the record, please.
For the record, even though most of you know me.
We do.
Jim Shear, I am the Vice Chairman of the Shooting Range Advisory Board. If you look at the range fee list, you'll see many things listed there that were not listed previously. The Advisory Board has been working extensively for the last about 3 years, ever since Mr. Sarvey brought it to our attention that we were not bringing in a large enough percentage of our expenses. We have been working on this very hard. We've had several extra work sessions this past year. You'll notice that almost every single fee has gone up. We have been in contact with many other ranges around the state, and we were way below what their fees were. And even with the increases, we are right at the bottom edge of that scale. So we're not out of line there with our new expenses. If you look at the bottom, it has a premium access and an orientation fees. These would be addressing what Vice Mayor Garner has brought up. We are looking at a automated system. We have developed a presentation which, when it gets through legal and through the city manager's approval, hopefully soon will be coming to council for an approval. This will not only gain access to our range more for our range members, but will also make it possible to reduce our employee expenses, because we won't have to have an employee there all the time that we're open. If there's any questions, I will be more than happy to try and answer them.
Councilmember Sanger.
This is a larger question, but it deals with your access. Is there a way for us to combine this access to every piece of recreation that we have?
Madam Mayor, I think that might be a little challenging. I mean, at least as far as it pertains to the shooting range. You know, we want to make sure the security and stuff is there, and we have something that, you know, we can see if anything nefarious goes on when, you know, people are around. To try and do that to cover everything recreation-wise, I don't know that it would be a good idea in some of those areas, just because we wouldn't have any control over whatever liability concerns or anything like that.
I mean, can they, if I buy a rec center thing, can I use it at the golf course?
Oh, like,
So
like,
we can
you know,
combine- yeah.
universal rec key or something like that.
Right.
I think right now I think they all have their own. So, I mean, we would have to try and we do ID badges, and we've been getting those for all the staff. So it's something we could kind of look into, I suppose. But yeah, at the moment, I mean, I have a rec card, and then I have a golf course card, and so
That's what I'm referring
it
to.
doesn't really bother me a whole lot on my wallet, but you know, the stacks of cards in there. But I don't know. I guess it's something that we could look into. I think some people.
Would
I
you
think there wouldn't be
do
a lot.
one card that you
probably
just
be.
punch?
Excuse me.
We do one card that you could just punch, like if you, or that or something, so,
Or barcode it.
or something that you can look at it, they can tell each one's available, but the paid for.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are different user fees and stuff that are set up for those things.
They have different
But,
systems too, because the
what's
rec
that?
center has their own key-in system.
Uh-huh.
And that they just did that like a year ago, right, Randy? That you just did that card system, the new card system. Yeah, it was about a year ago.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. Something like that kind of thing will work, yeah.
I think it's maybe something conceptually that kind of we could look into. I know a lot of other municipalities in the state, it's kind of the same way. They have a card for this, card for that. But I don't know. We take a look. I guess I don't know what the savings would be either. Maybe
What?
just making the universal system.
The answer is my daughter uses a lot of our different facilities
Uh-huh.
with her kids.
Right.
So instead of being able to go into the rec center and.
I get it's convenient for her, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's really,
Yeah.
would be greatly convenient for her.
Yeah.
But in general, if I want to go, you can't do this with your TV yet, but at some point you will be able to go, I want that channel, that channel, that channel. I don't have to get whatever you're going to give me from Tubi or Netflix, or I don't have to get that. I can buy what I want.
Since we're having like maybe an up here conversation, I think what we could do potentially, and maybe this will fall under a little bit more the IT side of things, is like have a phone. I use your phone, like your phone could have.
Is your
Because I
key
see people do it
entry.
at the rec center, and then
Yeah,
they
tap.
use that for
Yeah.
and for different areas around. So that's something you could check out and see what the. Rick's still here. He'd be freaking out on me as far as the security, but
Sure.
you know.
Yeah.
But I guess I mean that's what some people they check in at the rec center that way.
The
Yeah, 'cause
problem
you-
we have right now is the rec center and the golf course has two different systems.
Yeah.
So I can't, if I do a membership, dual membership, they gotta go out there and do their membership there compared to the rec center here. So that's the technical part of it, and that can be changed. It's like you're saying, do it on your phone, do it on some kind of a device. Because right now we have two different systems. I do not know what the golf system does. I don't know how to run it. They don't know how to run mine. It's two different systems of payment, you know.
I think I missed this, and it might have been in capital, but is there security or the cameras for the rec center in this budget?
For the actual recreation center?
So they can see what's going on in the gym. Do we have that anywhere in the budget?
Not at this time. I wasn't aware of those conversations, so.
It's something that we need to eventually do.
Okay.
Because they, at this time, can't look at
It
the
can be upgraded,
cameras
yeah.
of things that are going on in the gym when they're up front.
Can I ask a question? We get calls at Public Works about the rec center a lot. One question that's been coming up is having a membership like Steve, sorry, Councilmember Singer was saying. If we have family that have rec center membership, the husbands want to go to the shooting range, the wives want to go work out, the kids are in the corral, wherever, and that person has to pay an extra fee. I didn't talk loud enough.
You do not talk loud enough.
Dear God.
Thank you.
Okay. Watch out, guys. So, the question that's been coming up on phone calls are, if a family has the rec center pass, the husband wants to go shooting, the wife wants to go work out, the kids are doing this, the husband's gotta go pay an extra fee to go shoot. They're already a member. So how can we fix and remedy that? Put a little extra fee increase, I don't know. But I've had a lot of people, especially shooting season, when it comes hunting season, I shouldn't say shooting. That's something I think we should consider, because you do have a lot of Rawlins families that are active, but on budgets with kids, and that would be something I think would be important to kind of include with for our young families. Just, I don't know, an idea to throw out there.
Thank you. Okay. Councilwoman.
On the premium access, and I know everybody has their phone, but do we have some kind of guidelines posting something, if an accident happens, here's a phone, here's a way to get help?
At this time, so premium access and orientation fees would not happen until said time that we have an actual security gate or some sort of access abilities.
But part of that security
And so that
should be
would all
some
be
safety
covered.
guidelines, right?
And that would all be covered with
Okay.
our attorney.
Our presentation is quite extensive.
Okay, just making sure we have some kind of backup there plan.
Councilmember Sanger.
So what this allows us to do is, if you can tap with your phone, is 2:30 in the morning is not a problem. If you're getting off work at Sinclair and you're leaving at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, and you have a golf simulator and you want to go play, you can go play. So it opens up the 24/7 access. One of the drawbacks to Wyoming or any of the Rocky Mountain region in general is that you have 6 months to do your stuff. And then you don't get to do anything else because you're inside trying not to die from the wind. So this allows you to do that. And when you can increase the amount of hours that those things are in use, the chances of you generating more income to them goes up exponentially. You're doubling it,
Right.
essentially.
Yes.
So if it's November 24th and your mother-in-law's visiting and you really need to go golf in order not to hurt someone, you can go do that.
Well, you can't
And that would be
go,
great.
because the golf course is covered over, so you can't go.
The golf simulator.
Oh,
The simulator, yeah, so you can cue, and we laugh about this all the time in our DDA meetings, because Katie Smith, who's the head of Williams out there, she's QR code queen. Everything they do is on a QR code. You walk by your station and you QR code yourself in, you go to work, you know, she knows when you're there, she knows when you touch the keyboard because you got a QR code to get to your keyboard.
Right.
Everything they do is like that. But that would make it available to anyone by just hitting their QR code. And if they haven't bought access to that thing, if they haven't bought access to the gun range, you can't get in.
Right.
You would have to physically have bought that access to get in. And the only way you're going to know that is you're going to QR code, and then it's going to bring up your card and say, yeah, you don't have access to this facility.
Right.
So there's a financial side of this that could pay for itself relatively quickly.
Yes, I agree with you. It's also part of a much broader program than what had previously been considered.
Right.
So it is definitely something we can consider, but it has not yet been included in the 27.
It's not in this budget.
It's not here.
Councilmember Seelow.
Part of this, which I think we started, where we started off at and kind of got sidetracked off, is trying to figure out access to build so people can get into the shooting range out north without having someone on duty. Because that's the biggest complaint I get from the shooting sport is, like last winter, I had pilots guys, why aren't you open? Because it's nice enough weather, we can go out and shoot our guns. And we got one man, and he's working at the Fakin Rec Center, so he can't be out there. So we lost a lot. They all went to Sinclair shooting range because they couldn't go out here because they couldn't get in. So, I mean, we lost a lot of people.
And I think it solves that.
And, well, we need to figure out a way that they can get in there. That's the problem we're dealing with. Even if they got the pass to get in, there ain't no way to get in the gate and get out there and shoot.
Well,
That's why we have
that's
tech people, is because they can figure that stuff out for us.
So,
Yeah.
Not you specifically.
Jackie and Bruce are
but
not figuring
well,
it out.
there's ways to figure it out, but it costs money.
No debate.
Go ahead,
How
Jim.
much, we don't know.
Mayor, Councilman Seelow, in our presentation, there is a complete redo of that gate with an electronic access point so that everyone then would have to be recorded in when they went in and when they came out. And yes, it's all in that presentation when it finally gets to come to you. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Anything else on our rec center? Okay, so that covers our 3 rec centers. And now we have Public Works. So my Public Works starts with Parks Code.
Thank you, Randy.
Oh, it starts with parks?
Yes, because it led into rec.
So Rick and parks and cemetery.
Yes, so our parks first, well, not cemetery yet.
Just parks.
Cemetery is
Cody.
at the
Just
end.
parks.
Parks first.
So, thank you, Madam Mayor, Honorable Council. I'm just gonna kind of give a brief overview of just daily duties of our Parks Department and what that department entails. Right now, the Parks Department has 4 full-time employees that manage 110 acres of city parks, ball fields, and cemeteries. Within all those systems, there is irrigation throughout that, and that is their biggest hurdle, is keeping up with our green spaces as far as irrigation. Our Parks Department also helps out in the cemetery with burials in the need of cemetery work. So those are kind of the daily duties for our Parks Department.
This is our parks budget. It does include our salaries and benefits, a little bit of utilities because they do have of course, the new parks building over by the landfill. And then, of course, quite a bit in equipment maintenance is required for all the lawnmowers and snow blowers and everything else that goes into park maintenance, which I don't even completely know all about yet. There's also some tree replacement funds in there that goes as part of our being Tree City. Lots of fertilizer expenses, and of course vehicles. This does include 1 new vehicle for parks, and it also includes improvements to the VFW fields. That is what you find under the facilities program. So what you were asking about earlier, Councilwoman Lumen.
So the top's cut off, so is it
Yeah, I apologize. I had
25,
tried to
26, and 27?
20
Is that the top part of the numbers?
Yeah,
Oh,
20.
yes.
Okay. So this year we had 10,000 for fertilizer. Next year we have that. But is that going to be enough with fertilizer problems that the world is having? Do we have that?
Yes, they track that pretty much every year. They know about what quantities they're gonna need. And we added a little bit to that this year because of the drought for some new fertilizer for drought-resistant grasses.
Okay.
Anything else for our parks? Okay. Next is your administrative public works.
Thank you very much. Within the Department of Public Works, in the entirety of all the divisions within that, we have 40 full-time employees. Our admin office holds 4 of those employees, 2 admin, myself, and our city engineer. Within our admin, they track all the between 11 or 10 different divisions and 11 different line items, budgeted line items. We track all requisitions, POs, invoicing within those budgeted line items. Right now, we also track all engineering invoicing of contracts for any capital project that we have, and we have currently 9 in progress right now. And record keeping for all of our BLM, DEQ, and EPA permits, as well as contractors that are working within the city limits. Within this office, we also are the cemetery sexton and grounds for burials, and addresses all public works staff issues, as well as all of our public issues that we have.
So within the Public Works administrative sections, I did remove salaries from here because all of the salaries really can be divided out into the various departments that creates Public Works. So I very carefully went through some time studies with Cody and what made the most sense to divide everyone's time into to make sure that they were appropriately allocated within their departments. So that's the biggest change you will see on this particular budget. Yeah. Is there anything for this undesignated administrative public works? Okay, next I have your central shop.
Our central shop has 2 full-time employees. They maintain 268 pieces of equipment. That includes fleet and trailers and any other piece of equipment within the city, not including our parks department. That is just within all the rest of the divisions. They oversee all service contracts for new equipment and new vehicles. And they are equipped to pretty much fix, rebuild, or retrofit any piece of equipment that we have within the city.
Within their budget, this was a pretty flat budget, actually. We did go up a little bit in our heavy equipment maintenance simply because they're significantly more expensive to maintain. But of course, they require it. We do have a little bit of equipment that we put down there in our fixed assets. They don't have anything specifically identified, but this is some of those catch-all positions that we can't necessarily predict what it's going to take to repair specific pieces of equipment that we may not have. Are there any questions for our central shop?
Councilmember Sayer?
So you have heavy equipment maintenance, that went up. What is just equipment? Because it went up pretty substantially from the year before.
Yes, so just equipment is those pieces of equipment that are not considered fixed assets. Anything under $50,000, according to the policy, is not a fixed asset. So what you find under that capital section is kind of an undesignated amount at this time, whereas the stuff in the equipment line item is designated as more specific equipment.
Also, within last year's budget, the number was actually input wrong, and it was dramatically less than what we actually needed.
So the 2,000 was not correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
We believe a 0 may have been missed.
Okay, so that 650 would have not been 650?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else for central shops? Okay. Next is your streets.
Streets, our streets maintenance division currently has 7 full-time employees, and they maintain approximately 86 miles of city streets within the town. This maintenance includes asphalt repairs. We have 3 different ways we can do that. In our colder seasons, we have what is called cold patching. It's basically sacks of asphalt that we heat up with torches, and we can do in colder temperature seasons. We have a Durapatch machine, which it mixes gravel with oil that we can put down on alligator sections of our asphalt. And then we have our hot mix plant that we start up when the temperatures get to about that consistent 55, 50 degree temperature. We'll start up the asphalt plant and we'll get to patching any potholes, street cuts, or water break repairs. Let's see. We also take care of all the street sweeping within the city limits. And currently, right now, one of our street sweepers is down. The motor blew up early this spring, so we are down to 1 street sweeper. Unfortunately, it was the one that we were going to trade off last budget year, so
Oh, I was going to ask that.
That's how that works out. Also, wintertime, we do also applying snow removal for our 4-tiered snow removal plan that the city currently has. All sign repairs and replacement throughout the city limits. Our streets maintenance department is also our versatile group that we have that does a lot of special projects, such as downtown striping. We do a lot of material hauling for the golf course, the road mill that came from Elk Mountain and White Oak, and our street department hauled that. We also do projects such as the Lawrence property and our new lots that we got donated. We do the cleanups on those. We do trash pickup on cleanup days. Make sure if there's any kind of trash around town, our streets department takes care of that. And general assistance with all other divisions whenever we need it. Utilities or parks or anything else, we run equipment for them. And that's our streets maintenance department.
Under the materials, we went from 50 to 40,000. Material, what kind of material is that?
That's any kind of rock, salt, sand, road base, material.
And we didn't use so much sand last year? Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I just wondering why it went down.
Yeah,
Usually
so
don't-
I've been tracking.
Usually that stuff don't go down, it goes up.
And I've been tracking that a lot. With years back, there was quite a big number that was put in that line on them. And the years and how much volume that we usually get in stockpile every year, that number was just a little bit high. So I've been pulling it back just a little bit every year to get it more in line with what we actually use, not something that is, just over budget.
And the street infrastructure, the 800,000, that's for street repair patch?
That is, thankfully, we.
Street infrastructure actually includes two things. One being an actual street overlay project, as you just referenced. The other being what we discussed earlier, a street sweeper that has now got a blown engine, needs to be replaced. And so we are looking at some options to replace that.
Okay.
Councilmember Sanger?
So you said overlay project. We used to have an overlay program. I don't remember how much it cost. It was,
We would roughly we would set aside about $1 million a year, and we would spend anywhere between about 750 to 1.1. And we figured with about $750,000, we could do quite a lot of work with that amount right now.
there's some streets that could use an overlay.
Yes, there are.
I mean, I chip my teeth with my coffee cup every time I drive down them, so.
I was
Why are you
very
using
happy
this
when she got
ceramic?
this in the budget. So it made me smile. Made a lot of people smile.
Great.
So has there been also any discussion in the future to update the asphalt plant?
I would really like to have those discussions. We usually I was trying to put in $500,000 a year into a fund to replace. They're anywhere between $4 and $5 million for a small mobile batch plant, which that's what I would like to see. We don't need a large batch plant, just for the kind of work that we do and the staffing that we have. So I would like to eventually get to that point, but there is certainly more needs than that as of right now. But that is a very critical point of our streets department.
How many years does this one have left?
We've got about 47 years in it right now, so I mean, let's keep
So
it
we're
trying.
holding our breath. Okay.
More than the
Got it.
street sweeper.
Not on wood.
Council Vice Mayor.
With the batch plant, would this be something it would benefit the city to have Lou work on trying to bring private in and then just get rid of ours and utilize it that way?
No, we used to use a 71 every now and again when we have issues and buy from them. The cost for us to make it is so much cheaper. It's pretty amazing. We get all of our sand for free. We have a mining permit out at Seminole, so all sand is free. We stockpiled rock years ago. We haven't had a need to buy material in rock. So
Could
the
that
cost to make it is very cheap for the city.
Could that be something we work with somebody and say, hey, look, you bring the plant and operate it, and then we will help with supplies since we have the supply?
Well, that's what we do when we do capital overlay projects. The volume that those produce, we can't help with that. Our little batch plant does really well for small batches, 3 to 5 tons at a time. So, and that's what I'd like to keep. That way we can keep moving, and we're not asking a company to open up just to give us 3 tons.
Right.
Anything else for our streets department? Okay. Next is your facilities.
Facilities maintenance department has 5 full-time employees. 3 of those are maintenance, 2 are custodians. Facility oversees 43 different city buildings for maintenance, manages capital repairs for facilities, such as our phase 1 of our HVAC projects that we had going on. They oversee all the custodial work and staff on all staffed buildings. Assist in burials at the cemetery when Parks is not available to help out. Let's see. And it's also involved in any kind of capital or any capital improvements to city buildings, and that is any kind of plumbing, electrical additions, and that's all the way down to hanging our pictures in all of our city buildings. So, from big to small.
So facilities is one of those departments where you will see a significant number of changes that you've probably already noticed. There is a desire to switch the facilities department to an internal service fund, similar to our health insurance fund, that would allow them to be able to take on the full cost of the facilities maintenance without putting it into every single department. One of the things that I found when meeting with all the department heads was a vast majority of them, they don't know what their building needs. They're not contractors. That's not their job. So a lot of them, when I asked what their grounds and maintenance looked like, they said, I don't know. So the decision was kind of made by me and with the department director's blessings to remove that from the individual departments and strictly move it over to facilities, where they know the maintenance costs, they know what needs to be done, and they can maintain those budgets themselves. So the supervisor over in facilities, Anthony, has done a great job getting me some numbers and working with me and doing an entire interview of the city and determining what some of those needs are for 2027.
You mentioned about the 43 buildings. I know we've talked before about trying to combine buildings so we have fewer buildings to maintain. I don't know if that's something we can discuss in the future, but we are pretty scattered in our buildings and what we have to take care of, which adds to the cost.
I think it's also important to consider the definition of building. This includes, our facilities also includes things like sheds, pump houses that aren't office space or usable space for anything other than their intended purpose. So there is a distinction between those two things.
Councilmember Singer.
So that, the category 280, that's what that is? The City Hall Public Works, that 10,
Yes.
10, 10, 10?
So, yeah,
That's what, those are the dollar amounts for those facilities?
Yeah. So when I worked with facilities, one of their requests was, yes, we would love to take it on, but can you please give us individual line items so that we can track by building? And so this was my solution to kind of help them out. And I haven't assigned all the account numbers yet. So.
And Anthony gave you those numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember.
The service contracts.
Yes, so the city does have a number of service contracts, maintenance contracts, things like rug cleaning, floor care, those kinds of items that we don't have a specialist within the city that can do, or we don't have the specialized equipment to do. So those are things that we contract out, and that's what those city contracts are. There's also places with 2 stories require elevator maintenance. Elevator maintenance is very expensive and requires those kinds of maintenance contracts. Anything else for our facilities?
I think this is a great idea to separate it so you could track the costs better.
Yeah. Next up is our cemetery. And I believe Sonia might have a few words to say about our cemetery.
I thought you were going to start off. So I don't know if you've given them the.
Not yet. It's on the next slide.
We're not there yet. Okay.
Yep. Budget first.
So there's a whole team that goes out. We have the maintenance, like Cody was saying. Even streets gets involved for me. Our biggest thing right now is we are going from the earliest deed book to the most current deed book. I have Valina researching like crazy. Just getting the records in order. It takes hours. It's probably my day is 70% cemetery, the other part office work, running everywhere. Just a lot of documentation, looking in the past and wondering how something was done the way it was done. The biggest thing, and Tanya brought it up the other night, there's a lot of graves out there that are marked unknown. It's not unknown person, it's unknown owner. Some, today even going through, I probably found 15 to 20 unknown persons in a grave. unknown man. So that's why we're asking for that ground penetrator. We had Lou Lascano got one done for us just in this last couple months, but we haven't really got in there to read it very well and been trained, and that could open up probably 50 graves. So that's kind of what we're working on right now is abandonment. The last abandonment we had was 2003, and that's where you go back 25 to 50 years of purchasing a plot, notifying the community. We go well beyond. I think we hit 4 counties surrounding Rawlins. Waited 6 months, met with family. Kirk Kelly was awesome in this, helping us find families of these plots. So kind of what we're trying to do is build up our fund with these abandoned plots to be able to sell them. And then with that, that'll bring up the money, and then just kind of the parks is going to be taking over the opening and closing, taking that away from maintenance, because right now we have 2 guys. Lou's gone out there, Cody's gone out there. We've all kind of dug some graves, even me with the little tractor. But it's doing good right now. We're just kind of messing with the paperwork, finding out where we're at, the fee schedule, changing that up. It hasn't been changed for, I couldn't even find the last date, honestly. So we're kind of looking at that change, and then getting somebody put in that cemetery is kind of like that cemetery gardener. I'll be out there this summer. But just kind of building up the cemetery. It hasn't really been, I think I took over the last 5 years, and just last year, I brought it with me. You guys probably remember our last workshop. Stumps are all gone. We got that accomplished. I think they set that out to be one every so often. We have fixed some stones. I have 2 people that are going to put nameplates, and on the county, they call it the county section, those that have never had a stone. So I have 2 people that are going to be creating those for me. They're beautiful. I should have brought one in, just to give everybody a name, and that'll make it look beautiful out there. So we have a good plan this summer as far as beautification, but we just need some line items kind of built up there a little bit.
So the cemetery budget is another one where you will see some differences. In the past, cemetery's always been grouped with parks. It's always just been parks and cemetery. So it made it very difficult for me to try to figure out from the actuals and the budgets what part of it was cemetery, which is why you see zeros prior and amounts in this year. So in this year, we did designate a little bit of salary, mostly for our cemetery sexton, so that she can continue her work with that project. We also assigned a little bit of benefits for it, again for her. We also have a little bit of equipment that we're looking for, being I'm sorry, I forgot what you called it.
Ground penetrating radar.
Thank you. So that we can make sure that we do know where all of the graves are and not be overlapping anybody.
Couple questions. On the pavilion, we got the new curtains for that,
Yes.
correct? The other question is, once we get where we know where everybody's at, I know the pavilion has a big, is there any, hopefully, future plans to redo that whole thing to make it easier for people to find the graves that are buried there?
Yes.
I'll let her talk.
All right.
Big vision of mine, these poor guys. I'm always coming up with these ideas. So my vision of that is we just got our new plotter set up, and we just ran our first print. It's beautiful. So we're gonna go out there and redo that whole inside. Get some this summer with Randy's permission. He's gonna loan me some people. We're gonna go out and repaint that pavilion. New plexiglass, new maps laminated, put in that plexiglass. I want it, and this is gonna be the miracle part of it all. The maps aren't facing the way the cemetery lays. So you're out there looking for a loved one, and you're like this, because it doesn't match the streets. So I've gone out there many times where I've been in the office guiding somebody to their loved one. So it's going to take a lot of work. Thank God my husband's a construction worker. I have him already laid out to help me out here there. So we want to turn those frames in that pavilion some way. So if you, I don't know if you guys have ever gone out there to look at those maps. It's crazy. It doesn't even make sense. So with, like I said earlier, going through all the data, going through all the books, going through all the deeds, we've had to look at those plots. I mean, I spent days walking and with the map in there and making sure that right person's in there. for the last 5 years. That's been my kind of a project I've been doing. So I think we've got the maps pretty much lined up to who's in them. So that's what our big thing is, to redo that pavilion inside, turn those frames. And if you haven't been out there, go tomorrow, take a look, and you'll see what I'm trying to do. Like right now, they're like this, where the cemeteries should be like this, where the streets are. It'll make it so much nicer. So that's what I'm going to be working on. Golly, probably 5 hours out of the day, but it's going to be a blessing, when it gets all done. But yes, the pavilion will look nice.
Good. I do think in the future, we also need to look at, with the number of people who love to, who prefer not to bury them, but do the ash thing. Maybe have a place where they could buy a memorial stone with their name and date of birth, date of death, just have that offering available, so there's some solid memorial that that person existed.
Absolutely. We're working on right now, a lady's not ready to bury her husband. He had this desire to be spread somewhere else. So she asked, and it was kind of a blessing, because we've been talking about putting benches out there, because the cemetery is a walking path. It's beautiful. People just walk it. But we've been talking about putting benches out there. And so a lady called and asked if she could buy her own memorial bench, if I could send her what I would allow. So I thought that's the starting of part of that vision we have for the cemetery. And we do have a family out there that did not want to be buried in Rawlins. They've all moved away, but yet they were from Rawlins. They have made stones out there, just every person that lived in their family in Rawlins. And they bought the plots, so they're not buried there. We also we wanted to, in the past, build like a cremation wall. I don't know if you've been to cemeteries. They're beautiful. So we had a vision of that, finding an area in the cemetery. They can be pre-bought to bring up. They buy their own, so it kind of brings the cost of putting that in. And so we've been researching that as well. There are some things we want to talk about in our municipal code about changing why they were put the way they were. I have no idea. Bringing mausoleums back in. But a cremation wall is what people have been asking. They don't want to be in the ground. Just something about being in the ground. So that's something we've been considering too.
Thank you.
Out of curiosity, when you buy the lot out there, where does that money go? In just general funds?
Yeah,
And I mean, it should have been set up years ago, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
That should went into some kind of a savings deal, some kind of a deal that we could use the interest off it to keep repairing the
So
cemetery.
yes, you are referring to the perpetual funds. And yes, and that is something Sonia and I have actually been working in the last couple of weeks on gathering some numbers in order to restrict that money so that we can get it properly invested and accounted for.
Councilmember Sanger.
So we talk about this often. The first time it's sunny outside and the grass should automatically be green. Do we have money set aside for how we're fixing our irrigation system in the cemetery?
Cody, I think that's more yours.
So I think this is the beginning of all that. We had to build a budget for the cemetery first. And then once we get there, then we start looking at costs that we can add to this budget and start doing capital projects in the future. And that's where that would come into play.
Vice Mayor?
I was gonna say the same thing. We've talked about this for 5 years, and we've wasted $15,000 a year paying somebody to manually water that place. Can we just throw it in the budget and just get it going? Because I mean, it's just another 15 this year.
I think it will require a little bit more research on Cody's part to determine a cost, but then we can discuss it and see what we can do. I don't know what that cost would even be right now.
We don't have those costs.
That study was done, I think, 10 to 15 years ago, so those costs have dramatically changed with inflation. So,
Would it be just something we could put
Control.
electronically controlled valves? The biggest deal I can see is we're having to pay someone during the day to go out and water it during the day. That way we could water at night. One, people wouldn't be out there. Two, we ain't got water going into 75, 80 degree weather. So there's my thoughts.
Councilmember Sanger?
So I ran across this thing The little island park is solar powered. I came across valves, they're solar controlled valves. They have their own solar panel. They don't need anything else other than set the timer. If we manifold together sections and run one valve and then just set the timer on that valve, you don't have to run any electrical line. Our total build out is run a manifold line, cap all the stuff that comes off the main line, and run through one valve. And then you buy 10 of them, and you are now watering the entire cemetery based on just time. And they can run at night because they store up power during the day. You can run them all night long. You can actually run them almost up to a year on a single charge. And they're 6-inch, 4-inch butterfly valves. So they slow close, slow open, no hammer. You don't have that problem.
I think we would have to look at upgrading heads too, because the current heads we have out there put way too much volume of water out. If we put it on a manifold system and turn the whole thing on at one time, we'd drain the tanks. I mean, it would be just a tremendous amount of water.
No, not all of them.
Set the timer different.
You set the timer
Each
just.
section has a valve at the base of it and at the top of it where we turn them on to do that. So we could look at putting those valves in that area. I just feel that if we get in there and start doing that, we need to do new everything in each section. Start at one end and go in and rebuild everything, new heads, new valves, new everything, and just start doing sections at a time. We'll start doing, putting it some away. In the past, like we said, in parks and cemeteries, the same thing. So when you start asking for capital funds, especially within the general fund, you never had enough money. So now that we have this, maybe we can break a little bit out and do sections at a time and see how much we could put into that capital fund. Maybe we could do 2 1 year, maybe we could do 4 sections a year. But it would give us a start on rebuilding that cemetery.
So this is one of those DDA things that they will say test before you invest. Pick a section and go, we're going to do just this, and see what this cost works out to be, and then can we do it in such a way as nobody comes in here, you just turn it on and it goes to town and does its job, and we don't ever see it because it's on at night. And that's a benefit because it gives it more time to soak in. You're not doing it in 100-degree weather. So there's some huge benefits, and you're not running electrical.
Yeah.
The most expensive thing you're going to do, run electrical.
Or labor.
There's no labor.
So now that we have cemetery as its own budget, there will absolutely be an irrigation capital item on next year's budget. And we'll look to see if we can fund it and how much of it we can fund. I will do all the research this next year on equipment and what's best practice for it.
That'd be awesome.
Madam Mayor, can I just build on that?
Sure.
We're having a bit of a scoping conversation. And that's why I was in agreement on breaking out the cemetery so we could get some really accurate numbers and start to get some ideas on what investments would look like in the future. But I think it's also good to think about this for this council, but more the next councils, that we're one of the only places that doesn't have a cemetery district in Carbon County. And as you can see the numbers up there right now, you probably wouldn't even need a $500,000 to just give us a budget that would probably even be able to address some of the irrigation issues and stuff. So 2028, maybe 2027.
Did you explain a little bit cemetery district?
So a lot of the area, I think Saratoga has one.
Yes.
But they have a cemetery district, and it's voted on by the voters, and it's part of the property tax mill. And so 1 mill, or I think you'd have up to 4 mills. But the way cemetery districts kind of go, usually like 1 or a half will generally pay over the life of what you would need.
And then that pay for
Everything.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
And it would take it out of our general fund too,
Yeah.
in a way. And it would, anything collected with the cemetery district would have to go to the cemetery district.
It'd be like enterprise fund then, kind of.
Yeah.
Where the money has to
That's-
stay for cemetery. It's not used for anything else.
Kind of what the state statute kind of says, if you read part of the state statute, it talks about the cemetery staying in the cemetery. And then that perpetual fund, it goes into an interest-bearing account. And that interest, I guess the interest can go back into the general, but everything else stays into the cemetery budget.
Not if it was part of the district.
Yeah, I would say not to
exactly, except for
confuse
that, yeah.
what we're talking about here. What I'm saying is this would be like another source of revenue
Yes.
That would be coming from property taxes that the voters would vote in.
But just
And
for
it
the
would
cemetery.
always stay with the cemetery. We could probably maybe invest it a little bit, but whatever we got, whether it was interest or anything like that, it would
All
always
goes to the
have to
cemetery.
stay
Yeah.
within the cemetery for whatever use.
Vice Mayor?
I love that idea,
Yeah.
but it's been 5 years, and I don't want to wait another year to find out what budgeting is. I would rather let's do. I mean, it's a watering system. They've been built. They're tried. Everybody's tested them. I don't think we need to do too much homework on this. I think we just need to. Here's the budget. Get as much of it done as possible if we can do it, because we're just wasting the water at this point still, and it's one of the things that we need to conserve the most of, and it's one of the areas in it. Not this year, hopefully. Last year, the year before, was a rough subject with constituents, is the cemetery, and it looking green or not being green. And this is one of the things that helps it the most. This is probably the most impact to keep it green. So I would be for throwing this in the budget right away.
This is in the budget.
Huh?
This is in budget. I mean, this
He
is what
means
we're
the
budgeting.
irrigation,
Some more money in it, some more money in the budget for it.
to rebuild the irrigation system.
If Cody can come up with some numbers, then yeah, maybe we can take a look at it. We can bring it back next week.
And I know that's a big ask, but I think it would be great to see, just pull the trigger on it. And
We might have to take it from a different place and redirect it out of one department into another. But we'll at least see what we're working with as far as addressing that need.
Councilmember Seaver.
One with Vice Mayor Garner, our sprinklers are working. They just have to be opened and closed manually. If we could replace them valves, like Steve was saying, with automated valves, it would save us a bunch of expense manpower. We could get them to water at night, and it would be watered on a regular basis. I think it would be worth putting some money in there to get them valves changed now. Then later on, we can start replacing sections as we need to go through. I mean, it's all going to take a little bit at a time. None of it's going to be done overnight, but we know it all works, other than we're having to do it manually. And it's costing us a lot of money and doing it during the day. So, I mean, I agree. I mean, we've been putting this off for just before I was on council. So.
And you guys get the complaints, but we get the phone calls, and it's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there,
I'll definitely look into it. Just the initial, my thought is that I would like to try to find something, and it might take a little bit of time, that we're gonna keep in there. I don't want to spend money where if we look in the future to go in and replace all the sprinklers and everything, that module won't work and we're redoing what we just put in the ground. So I would like to have something that we can upgrade with the system.
Just to counter that, that money is going to the manual right now. So if you did put a little bit in and it did work for a little bit, it may not match the next system, but it's still gonna beautify, it's gonna help with that process. And if it has the potential for saving. So either way, we're gonna be spending the money to have somebody manually do it.
Would you like to see the whole entirety of the cemetery done, or do basically a test area, like 4 rows that we put in new modules and test run if it would work or not?
How many
I
valves
think you do a test module first.
How many valves?
I'd like
how
to
many
see the
valves
price
do we got?
difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
How many total valves are in there?
How many are there?
54.
Yeah.
Valves.
yeah.
But
Because-
they control each individual section,
Yes.
top and bottom.
Yes. Oh.
That's not the idea. The idea is, because Nate called me when Jason was still here, called me out to the cemetery and said, hey, come and look at this. We're going to fire on water. This is the first time they're turning the whole water system on. And they turned on 5 sections at a time. And they just ran the 5 sections. And I'm like, so we don't have to run one? Well, no, you have enough water pressure. You have an 8-inch line. So, or I think it's an 8-inch line. Isn't that how big that thing
It's
is?
6 or 8. It's a
Yeah,
big
it's
one.
huge.
Yeah.
So they turn that on, they can run 5 sections at a time. Well, there's five sections. There's 25 total sections. But if one valve controls 5, then you have 5 on the bottom, 5 on the top, you have 10 total valves. And they're just set 1 hour separate, or 30 minutes separate, or however many minutes separate, it doesn't matter. Top and bottoms are timed exactly the same, because they didn't have enough pressure to shove down and reach the bottom. That's why they ran the bottom ones. But yeah, so you just leave the valves open. They're always open. The only thing that opens and closes is the main valve that runs that 5 sections. That's the only part that opens and closes. So it's a relatively simple process. And it's a ball valve that has a controller on the top of it with a solar panel. That's it. That's all it is. You're just going to say, we're coming from here to here, connecting these 5 sections together from that main line, and cap everything else off. So nothing runs into those valves. You just leave them open. You don't have to close them.
Okay. I'll
I have that paperwork. I'll just give you. I'll
have
bring
to
it
work
tomorrow
on
and
some
just put it on
numbers just
your
for one, and then we can do
Right.
some addition and figure out how much you guys would like to actually put forward.
Sorry.
Do we also have a plan for the prairie dogs?
Drowning.
We work with the
Bring the badgers in.
The weed and pest actually.
That's going to make it
has
so much nicer.
the bait stations out there, and they work with us every year. So there's just a timing thing with them. We got to put it out when they actually start coming out.
Okay.
So,
Because there was one year they were really, really bad. So if we can get on top of that, that'd be
Hannah
excellent.
lets their public works people have BB guns for theirs. So.
Oh,
Just
this
saying.
is going to go down the
That would be
wrong road.
consideration.
Is that part of the rec center? Prairie dog shooting.
I'll
There's a
volunteer.
prize.
My husband volunteered.
I've had many people come to me and say, "Can I just go out there with my BB gun?" No, you cannot do that.
It'd be so much fun.
Vice Mayor, you had a.
I was just going to ask how we're doing on staffing, just in all
Public works.
public works.
We're actually doing really good on staffing. For the departments and the positions that they have, there's not a lot open that we have. Now, like you talk about parks, 110 acres of green spaces, and all of those have irrigation systems in it, and then everything else that they do and how much they work on that stuff. For 4 people to be doing that, it's a lot of work. I would like to see that more robust staffing, but
Are we having high turnaround still, or is that kind of slowed down? We got a
That's-
constant.
our big turnaround point is within our water department, because that's a really, really tough job. Between winters and, our situation that we had last week, it puts a toll on our workers, and that's where we have a lot of them, the high turnover rate is within our utilities department.
And it's like the
Retention everywhere
like
else
the
is
police
pretty
department,
good.
everyone else is begging for help
Yep,
in the water departments.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything like financially that might help that, or
I think with the
would it
new,
help it?
the new pay scale that we're doing right now has helped tremendously. They
Awesome.
know that there is, there's growth within the city now. So, and right now we have a very good utilities department. We have some very, very good employees, some great leaders in both treatment and utilities. So right now we are very happy with what we have.
I would like to say too that just today, no pressure, Cody, to check your emails. But
Hint, hint.
I received an email from the EPA where they're doing a webinar on actually maintaining and building a water workforce. And so
Yes.
that might be a really good thing for some of our staff to attend and look towards the future for what the next generations are expecting.
Councilmember Patterson.
We'll go back to the cemetery budget. Under the Parks Department, you have tree maintenance and replacement. Now, does that include the cemetery in that? Or does the cemetery need to put something in there for tree replacement also?
That is for cemetery as well, when we do any kind of tree replacement.
Because that
They have-
cemetery could use a lot more trees. I mean, we're losing them.
Well, yeah.
We were out there a couple weeks ago and there was 3 trees down, I think, already.
Yeah, so all the dead trees we've been actually trying to get out of the cemetery for beautification purposes. I have another 4 slated to be removed, but the parks budget is a little bit bigger for tree removal, as that budget is also for any kind of tree work that we have throughout town. So we look at that budget, and throughout the season, when we get closer to the end of budget, if we have more money in that account, then we go out and we take down dead trees that are in the cemetery.
And the replacement.
Yeah, so replacement, we do slate a few trees every year. We're gonna start doing that every year for the cemetery.
Because the north side of the north side of the cemetery is almost non-existent of trees anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the section that we're looking at doing a tree program in. At least starting a lane at a time, getting like 5 to 10 in. You know, hopefully we can get the deer to stop eating them.
Got a BB gun.
Along with our cemetery, of course, we do have some proposed fee changes for the cemetery. These fees had not been changed in a number of years. We actually did some pretty extensive research around Wyoming to kind of come to these particular fees. We went with some of our bigger cities as well as some of our very small towns to kind of see what they do and how they do their pricing. So we kind of came up, Sonia and I had a few meetings on this to make this kind of come together, and we would ask that council consider upping the fees for some of our cemetery expenses to cover the costs of staff. I would remind you that a burial takes 8 to 10 hours of staff time to dig the burial site, to fill the burial site back in, setting up chairs and pavilions and things of that nature for the mourners. It does take some considerable staff time. With that, is there anything else on our cemetery or for public works? Wonderful. Next, I just had a little bit of a message from my own. And I didn't include slides for this one, so over the last 2 nights, we have covered in full the city's general fund. During those nights, you have seen and heard from every city leader. And in addition, in attendance, we've had members of advisory boards, members of our police department, our cemetery sexton, and any number of city staff listening on YouTube or Facebook. Now, I've done a lot of budget presentations in my time, and I have to say that I have never had the staff support that I have here. I think this is a true testament to just how important our staff believes the budget to be. Not just because of their own paychecks, as some would say. In fact, in my many meetings and conversations with staff members, not one mentioned their own paycheck. As a newcomer to the city, I can't put into words what that means to me. I do express this to the council with the hope that you also express your appreciation to staff, not only for their budget support, but for the support they provide in the city each and every day. Budgeting at its core is long and complex. There is no way around that, and I signed up for it. So, to all members of the council and to the public, I thank you for sticking with me and asking the questions that matter to you. To me, a budget represents a commitment. Commitment to investing in staff, investing in services, investing in the public, and investing in the community you serve. For fiscal year 2027, this budget was designed to be conservative and reflect the values of the city of Rawlins. I can assure you that the council's strategic plans and priorities were considered and remained at the forefront of the process. Predicting revenues over a year ahead of receipt or even assessment is difficult. I consulted pertinent agencies, including the state economists, known as Craig, the Wyoming Association of Municipalities, known as WAM, Carbon County, national average databases, and watched other municipal budget sessions. What I discovered, we're all facing the same problems. Water and sewer, which we will discuss on Monday night, is a prime concern across the state, and no municipality has it figured out. A population influx means our younger people are leaving the area, and even in the state, often not returning. This is a problem also across Wyoming. Fixing just part of the problem leaves many other problems unsolved. Mayor Patrick Collins of Cheyenne shared a statistic yesterday in one of his work sessions. He said that 67% of our kids will leave the state by the age of 30. Fewer than that will ever return. Infrastructure is one of the highest costs of any municipality. This includes streets, city buildings such as our fire and police departments, parks, rec centers, pipes, underground utilities, all things that whether you use them or not, contribute to a thriving community. So many of these items are nothing without technology. Another expensive investment in infrastructure and staff, but nonetheless a necessary component in today's world, and it affects everything I have listed prior. I list these items because I want everyone to know that I have considered all of the challenges in the fiscal year 27 budget. No, I don't have all the solutions, because as they say, it takes a village, and building that village takes time and money. So I'd like to talk about revenue for just a moment. This is the most unpredictable portion of a budget, and most of it is out of our control as a city. We discussed Tuesday night our reserve money. That reserve currently represents 131 days of expenses. The city goal is 274. Building reserves is important to preserve city services during economic downturns to reduce likelihood of cutting services during those times. Reserves are not about building wealth. They protect the city from emergency situations and provide financial stability for other resources and revenues, such as grants, meaning that tax dollars are used intentionally and strategically. Sales and use tax is the city's highest revenue source, making up for 57.3% of all general fund revenues. I have intentionally stayed flat on my prediction as the tax fluctuates greatly with economic conditions. Our direct distribution is expected to bring in $866,000 in 27. Changes within the state legislature made this a more reliable amount on an annual basis, but also comes with challenges. The structure is complicated, forcing us to rely on state projections rather than our own. And according to statute, this money cannot be used for salaries. So these monies will be used for operational expenses. Property taxes have been discussed on a national scale, and while this revenue only equates to 3% of our revenues, disruptions to the source would have great impacts on our ability to provide services. My budgeting on this reflects a conservative approach in the entire process. On the expenditure side, my belief is that financial management and deliberate decision-making are imperative to the budgeting process. Our fiscal year 27 budget reflects a commitment to maintain a skilled and dedicated staff by investing in them. Wages and benefits account for 65% of our total expenses. This includes staff increases according to our STEP system, but doesn't yet include our investment in staff for training. Included in the budget are transitions to technology that will help with operational efficiency, integration, reporting, transparency, security, and modernization. And implementation to make the IT department and internal service department accomplishes all of these goals. Technology represents 6% of our budgeted expenses. Infrastructure is another large part of the municipal budget. Specifically, our streets, as well as other areas such as facilities and capital funds, account for approximately 20% of our budgeted expenses. The remaining 9% of total expenses are used for operations of city departments. A third piece is our debt position, reviewable on page 40 of your budget book. The general fund has no debt to loans or bonds. However, the city's current total debt sits at 2.26% due to a scraper and compactor for the landfill. This also includes landfill closure costs as required by GASB 18 to be present as a debt. There are some water and sewer loans, which by statute do not count towards the city's debt percentage. however, still requires significant payments with interest. The city currently pays $590,745 per year in debt. These loans range in age and expire as early as 2028 and as late as 2042. I stated earlier that budgeting is complex, and all these items and many others were brought together to bring this balanced budget and fiscally responsible budget together. I'd now like to thank each of you once again for your service as councilmen and women. Monday night, all of our leaders will be available for any final questions. And now I would take any final questions you have on the general fund for me.
Any questions? We will.
Well, this concludes night 2 then. And night 3 is Monday, beginning at 6 p.m.
Yes.
Where we will talk about our enterprise funds.
All right. Well, we will adjourn the workshop at 7:53 p.m. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.